Today I'm happy to be here. It's after quite few months that Bangladesh International Mediation Society, Bangladesh Mediators Forum, and the Supreme Court Lawyers Guild have come together to organize a seminar or a workshop on a very important topic, evaluation of mediation. Can I go ahead? In the meantime, you can start sharing the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. This particular topic is of much interest because most of the workshops or conferences or even the seminars are concentrating on the types of mediation and the ethics of mediator, the rules of mediation and the Singapore Convention and so on and so forth. But going to the grassroots of where the mediation started and how it evolved into a process and a procedure of what we follow today is very important to understand. So today in the next 30 minutes, I will be covering pockets, not in full, but pockets of evolution of mediation from different parts of the world. Before I start, I bring greetings from SARC Mediators Forum. And SARC Mediators Forum has been constituted very recently on the 1st January of 2025. And I also thank the organizers and appreciate on behalf of SARC Mediators Forum and wish you all the very best in all your endeavors. I just want to take few minutes to explain and also to give you a brief of what SARC Mediators Forum is. Can you please change the slide? To the third slide. Yeah. Third slide. One more. Thank you. The chairman of Bangladesh International Mediation Society, BIMF, Senior Advocate Mr. Goswami sir, along with the respective chairman, president, member of SARC National Mediators Forum, that's Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, of the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, SARC, nations and other mediation forum, societies, institute and organizations from developing and other nations have established SARC Mediators Forum with a signing of proclamation agreement. And this charter agreement is resolved and approved and adopted by the respective national representatives on the 1st January of 2025. And what is the mission of SARC, the Mediators Forum? That's SMF. Next slide, please. The vision is to strengthen regional peace, have cooperation, and have a mutual, meaningful, peaceful conflict resolution across SARC, non-SARC countries and developing nations by empowering mediators through collaboration, knowledge sharing, and cultural sensitive practices, fostering sustainable solutions for intra-regional disputes and promoting mutual understanding and trust among SARC Mediators Forum members. This is the vision of SARC Mediators Forum, and that's exactly on what we are working for. And I thank my previous speaker for setting the tone and also for setting the prelude of today's workshop context. And what is the mission of SARC Mediators Forum? The mission is to promote peace, mutual understanding, and sustainable, next slide please, and sustainable conflict
resolution by fostering dialogue, strengthening mediation capacity, and building collaborative framework among SARC, non-SARC, and developing nations. The forum also aims to uphold justice, human rights, and regional cooperation through cultural, sensitive, and impartial mediation process. This is the vision and mission of SAC Mediators Forum, and based on very fundamental and based on very solid ground, the SAC Mediators Forum has evolved, and we will be able to join all the mediators from the SAC nations and non-SAC nations and developing nations to build a meaningful mediators forum to exchange knowledge and also to exchange to uphold justice, human rights, and regional cooperation. So let me come to the topic evolution of mediation. So why do we talk about mediation when we have litigation, when we have courts, when we have other systems to address conflicts or to address disputes? Earlier slide, please. Earlier slide, two slides before. No, equal and opposite reaction. Yes, thank you. Conflict. Conflict is an inborn quality, or it's an inborn twin of the human being. Without conflict, there is no human being. A human being can be happy, a human being can be sad, a human being can have different mood swings, a human being can have different, can exhibit with different moods in different environments and in different situations.
But to consolidate the entire moods, we have only two. One is equal and opposite reaction. When you are happy, we treat everyone equal. We have equality. We share everything with everyone, with our neighbors. But when there is an opposite reaction, when the conflict creeps in, our equality diminishes and the conflict starts building up. And that's where our life is also. Mediation is as old as the human civilization. When human is born, the conflict also was born and mediation was also born. So these are the three important triangles when the human civilization, the conflict, and the resolution or the mediation. Next slide, please. So conflicts can be small and it can be as big as a war. It can be a small conflict between the siblings, the small conflict between a husband and a wife, a small conflict between neighbors, and it can be as big as a conflict that leads to a war. So conflict, whether it's small or big, it's a conflict and it has to be addressed appropriately. Can we go to the next slide? Can we go to the next slide, please? Abraham Lincoln once said, discourage litigation, persuade your neighbors to compromise whenever you can. Point out to them how the normal winner is often a loser at fees, expenses, cost, and time. In civil jurisdiction or in civil litigation, these are the important factors. What is the fee, the expenses, cover the cost, and the time factor. So if we can cut short these four elements, or if you can minimize these four elements, both the parties will be the winners and no one will be a loser. That's what exactly Abraham Lincoln once said. He discouraged litigation and encouraged to have negotiation and encouraged to have compromise, which is nothing but the process of mediation. Next slide, please.
So is mediation required? I'm not going to explain the entire slide. I'm going to explain only part of the slide. The first part, what is conceptual, and the imposed. Consensual is the very basic form of mediation, whereas imposed is the form of litigation through courts. So, what are the advantages? If we opt for mediation, it's informal, it's private, and it's confidential. And the parties which have disputed come together to decide their outcome, and the parties retain control over the process, and the parties can control the outcome. Whereas in the formal imposed court proceedings, it's very formal and public, and it's adjudicative, and the neutral decides the outcome, not the parties. The parties present their pleas, but it's the neutral who decides the outcome, and the parties do not control over the process, but the courts, the acts, and the rules control the process, and the time, cost, and resource. As we saw in the earlier slide, compromise is much better because even the winner in the imposed scenario will be the loser because of time, cost, and resources, which are more important and much important for in today's fast evolving mechanical modern life. Can you go to the next slide? What are the advantages of mediation? Should we go opt for a mediation? The advantages of mediation is the parties decide the outcome, and the parties control the process, and the parties decide what the outcome should be, and also they control what they want, or they decide what they want. So here, what are the advantages of mediation, and where does the mediation starts? The mediation starts with a conflict, and a conflict is nothing but a difference between two parties. If it is not resolved, which could escalate into a disagreement, and even the disagreement is not addressed, it could escalate into a problem, which will again give rise to a dispute between the parties, which will be a conflict, potential conflict, and sometimes it might lead to violence, and violence might end up with war. And these are the different stages of mediation, and these are different stages in which how a mediator can effectively help the parties, the disputants, to come together. So if it's a difference, small difference, a negotiation between the parties will resolve. If it is a disagreement, you need an external neutral to come in, where the mediators are appointed and conciliators accordingly. And if it is a dispute, it has to go to an arbitrator. So when it goes to an arbitrator, the parties lose the control on the system, on the procedure, whereas the neutral will impose a decision on the parties, and so on and so forth, which I'm not going to go into detail because today's topic is only on the evolution of mediation. I'm just giving you a brief introduction of what mediation is. So next slide, please. So as I already discussed with you, the mediation conflict triangle, which is there has to be a conflict, there has to be a dispute, there has to be a solution. So what does a mediator do? Mediator tries to bring all the three elements together and put it into perspective to explain to the parties to arrive at equitable solution and to arrive at a solution which is acceptable to both the parties. Next slide, please. A brief definition of a mediation. The key feature in the mediation is that disputants, that's the parties, should take part in and construct the resolution themselves rather than have it imposed upon them, which shall be binding and legally enforceable. And today, unlike the earlier days, the mediation agreements are also enforceable by courts under the civil law, and some countries have ratified and approved the Enforcement Act, but some countries are yet to ratify and enforce the Enforcement Act. But by and large, the mediation agreement is enforceable by the courts. It's important for us to know. And who's a mediator? Next slide, please. Who's a mediator? The best and experienced mediators resolve disputes discreetly, efficiently, and most importantly, with fairness to both parties. He's a neutral and he has to show fairness to both the parties. And it is always important that the mediator have to follow certain ethics, which is very, very important. So now let's go into the topic and quickly I'll finish it in the next 15 minutes. Evolution of mediation. Next slide, please. Mediation has always been a part or additional or alternative option to resolve conflict, dispute and litigation between disputants, that's the parties. So how old is a mediation procedure or the process? Mediation has been a part of human evolved with every civilization. So in the next few slides, we will see how the civilization evolved and how mediation evolved and how conflict resolution evolved. And the mediation dates back and it's as old as BC, that's before the birth of Christ. The process is based on impartiality to maintain peace, and the most important is the agreement is accepted as final and binding between the parties, because the decision of arriving at agreement is the decision of both the parties. So that is how how the mediation has evolved along with the civilization of human mankind. So in the next few slides, I will be discussing only a few pockets of civilization. It will be not be a very detailed one, but very important civilizations we will be discussing upon. Next slide, please. The first is the ancient Israel mediation, which many mediators take a leaf out of it to explain how mediation started. So I'm not going to be very brief because we all know this. We all must have heard in your mediation accreditation classes. So I'll be very brief on this. The first is as old as if any biblical a person with any biblical knowledge will go back to Abraham, who was the father of both Christianity and Islam. So Abraham mediated, he not only mediated, he negotiated with God when the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah was to be destroyed. And he not only mediated for the people of Sodom and Gomorrah with God, he also negotiated. That's the first negotiation and the mediation one can date back through. And what is this negotiation? He said, if you find 50 people, will you not destroy the cities? And it came down to one. So that's an art of negotiation. And Moses for the people of Israel. That's the first community mediation we can go back and see in the history. And Prince Jonathan, who mediated between King Saul and David when Saul was seeking to kill King David because of jealousy and revenge. So that's a mediation between the family mediation, the first family mediation dated in the history. And the well-known mediator Solomon mediated for a child between two mothers. One mother's child was dead, the other mother's child was alive, and the dead mother child claimed the child to be hers, and the alive mother also claimed, the child alive mother also claimed to be hers. And it was very interesting to note how Solomon mediated between these women, and he found out who the real mother is and handed over the child to the real mother. Next slide, please.
Next slide, please. And the ancient Middle East mediation, it started with Mesopotamian civilization. It is the earliest known civilization between river Tigris and Euphrates, dated 6000 to 1900 BC, which is a Sumerian society, which is a very important form of mediation from where it started. And ancient Mesopotamian civilization. Come in, sir.
In short way, please.
Yeah, I have another 5 minutes and I should be able to complete it.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah. Sumerian civilization, the ancient Mesopotamian civilization, where the master helped resolve disputes without court intervention. And a master is nothing but a mediator who has the qualities and ethics of the modern mediation society. Can we go to the next slide? The Chinese mediation, China has a long history of mediation under the Confucian influence from 551 to 479 BC. Mediation trumped the superiority of law, and Confucius advised that the best solution to conflicts was ethical reconciliation over legal conflict, establishing very mediation process, and even today China opts for mediation processes. Next slide, please. And Islamic law mediation, Sharia law supports dispute resolution through mediation, and this is what I picked up from some of the history books, which I consider to be correct. The scholars assert that during Prophet Muhammad's earlier life, tribes warring over the Kaaba reconstruction chose him as a mediator. Prophet Muhammad mediated between tribes and communities to accommodate and uphold both parties' interests. Next slide, please. And ancient Indian mediation, Mahabharata, it dates back to Mahabharata, where Krishna mediated between Pandavas and Kauravas to avoid Kurukshetra war, but his mediation failed and Kurukshetra war did happen. So as mediators, mediation will not always yield a desired solution.
Mediation may also fail. So if mediation fails between the parties, then the parties have other options to pursue. The oldest panchayat system were used to resolve disputes between parties by local councils and respected elders, or the Mahajans as mediators, which is widely practiced in the Asian countries like India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, and other countries. Till date, panchayats and pancha Parameswars as mediators between individuals or groups or some of the tribes in the Asian nations. And what is the evolution? The development of modern law and the transition and reforms from ancient law evolved sharp decline in the mediation and next slide please. In mediation negotiation, and sharp increase in court litigation. With development of legal rights, individual rights, context, commercial management and cross-border disputes, the court litigation increased and the mediation and negotiation decreased. Next slide please. And the modern age mediation is attributed to the civil rights campaign, followed by development to address community grievances, cross-border dispute between the nations, sharing of natural resources, and increased workload of loads leading to prolonged duration for solution. So these are the factors which develop the modern mediation era. Next slide please. And the empowerment of parties. Next slide please. Mediation empowers the parties in decision making, to resolve the disputes among themselves and have the control on the outcome. Next slide please. So civil justice, the critical issues are cost, delay, and complexity. In mediation, if these factors are minimized, then it will be a win-win situation for both the parties, and it will also reduce the workload of the courts, which handles much more important constitutional issues. So the issues that gives rise to a conflict can be taken to a mediator, referred to a mediator, and a mediator will be in a much better position to have to bring both the parties to discuss and to arrive at an amicable solution rather than litigating. In the modern age, the modern era, it is more important that the parties should invoke mediation for easy cost effectiveness, for speedy justice, and to resolve and control the entire process with themselves and to coexist peacefully and harmoniously. Thank you for your patience, and if there is any questions, I can take the questions. Thank you. If there's no questions, I thank the organizers for inviting me to deliver this talk, and I thank Mr. Goswami sir also for giving me an opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, sir.